I have said before that I'm not a big fan of Gabbie Hanna, but like that was on Twitter, so I assume it doesn't count. Anyway, let's get into a video about why I don't like Gabbie Hanna. Hey, hi, hello, friends. Welcome or welcome back. You know, if you've never been here before and somehow this is the first video of mine you've stumbled onto as well, you know, hey, hi, hello. I always tend to start my videos off assuming that no new people will want to join me because honestly, the fact that there is like 2,000 plus of y'all make me like very nervous because no one in my life ever wants to listen to anything I have to say. So the fact that this is happening on the internet is a little nerve-wracking. I gotta be honest with you. Anyway, today I'm gonna do my makeup. I bought this shirt. It's like a basic t-shirt, but I really like the color of it, and it inspired me to do like a really nice smoky red eye. But then I thought, why don't I also discuss issues? If you guys don't know who Gabbie Hanna is, first of all, congratulations. I don't know how you managed to achieve that, but if you do, if you can share that information, please do let me know, because I too would like to not know who Gabbie Hanna is. Unfortunately, I am not so lucky. And if you want to know and ruin your day, trust me, because it will, let's talk about it. So Gabbie Hanna is a YouTuber. She didn't start off that way. She is 30 years old, and she was originally a Viner, I do believe, and then when the great Vine apocalypse happened and then Vine shut down, I have such a hard time with V's and W's. Maybe it's like an immigrant thing. I just can't pronounce them. Anyway, when Vine shut down, she decided to hop on over to YouTube, as a lot of other people did. And she was part of the vlog squad, and it was like some low-key information about how she might or might not have like split up Liza Koshy and David Dobrik. I don't really know very much about Liza Koshy. David Dobrik is going through his own shit, but that's still like kind of like a crappy thing to do if you were the reason why they broke up. It's just not nice. Like, stay out of your friends' like bedroom lives. You know, and given what we know about Trisha Paytas and her, well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. You know, I don't know why they would have broken up, but it makes me suspicious. That's all I want to say. Okay, let's do my makeup and let's discuss. So, she is 30 years old. I want to mention this right at the offset that while I am not an ageist asshole, and I don't think that, you know, you can age out of doing something, I do also believe that once you have lived a certain amount of life, and once, you know, your hormones have regulated a little bit, you have developed like just more of a personality that isn't revolved around what other people think of you when you're no longer in high school, right? You tend to become a little bit more of a stable person, and that generally happens in like your early 30s, right? Like late 20s, early 30s is kind of where that happens, where you're no longer so worried about what other people think, and like your personality sort of like levels out. Anyway, that hasn't really happened with Gabbie Hanna. If you guys keep up with the interwebs at all, you know that she is in a lot of hot water, and for a variety of different reasons. There are people a lot better, internet sleuths, who can probably put together the timeline of why she's in trouble, like the exact issues. I want to talk more in the metaphysical, as it were. You know, that's kind of where my plane is. I don't like to talk in specifics, mostly because I don't tend to know all the specifics. I am not good with, as the youth calls it, the tea. I am very, very ancient, and I do not have the energy for it. Maybe not necessarily on the outside, but definitely on the inside, right? Like, Gabbie Hanna is around my age. I will not say by how much. A lady never tells. But, you know, she is around my age, and so that's why I wanted to discuss her, because what she's currently doing with her life versus what's happening in my life, I think, not so much that I'm going to tell you about my life. I just mean that where I am emotionally versus where she seems to be emotionally are very different, and I kind of wanted to discuss it. It's not my usual thing, but I figured it'd be interesting. Now, she has been all over the internet recently, right? And that's really nothing new for Gabbie Hanna. Her first real big blow up on YouTube came with the situation involving her and Rice Gum. Rice Gum, if you don't know, is also awful, and he had attended a party with Gabbie Hanna. They were having a discussion. Gabbie Hanna was admittedly being extremely obnoxious. right? But Rice Gum crossed the line when he grabbed the phone out of her hand and broke it. Now, the issue is that she exaggerated that situation. She instead reported it as he grabbed her phone and he broke it and he held her down to the ground, and none of that happened, right? There were other people there and none of them could verify that any of that had ever happened. And at that point, you know, people gave Gabbie Hanna the benefit of the doubt. They assumed, you know, well, why would this lady lie? Now, of course, we all know better. I am not gonna put foundation all over my face. I'm just not feeling it. I mean, yeah, I've got discoloration here, but I don't really think it's too much of an issue. I just want mostly to do a fun eye look, you know? I will conceal underneath my eyes, though, because the dark circles. And it gave her this false measure of, I guess you could say, reliability. This gave her this false measure of being someone who, like, spoke truth to power, because at that point, I mean, Rice Gum's following was a lot bigger than hers. He was already kind of known for being a little bit obnoxious. I think it's a little bit after this that the iDubbbz video on Rice Gum dropped as well. And the combination of that was that his credibility took a hit, and because she was the other part of that equation, her credibility swung upwards. Either way, she became a massive sensation, and if you really want to know a more detailed history of what's happened with her channel, how she grew, I really recommend watching Smokey Glow's video, The Evolution Of. Recommend it. She did a fantastic job. Now, recently, however, she's been getting into a little bit of trouble. She's displayed a lot of erratic behavior on the internet. So the palette that I'm using, by the way, is the Colored Raine Vivid Pigments palette. I always link everything down below, so if you're ever curious, you can check that out. And I'm just blending out the color unbothered in my crease. And some people have rightfully assumed that, you know, she might be doing it as part of a coordinated effort to drum up publicity around her name. If you guys aren't aware, given the longevity of her channel, Gabbie Hanna's views are actually dropping. They have been for quite a while now. She's been losing not subscribers so much as just like interest in her channel, which is, I think, the saddest thing to happen. A really good example of this is someone who I still really like, but who definitely is experiencing, like, quote unquote slow channel death, is ex-Sparkage, Leisha. I think she's fantastic, and she really, I mean, if anybody deserves a comeback, it would be her. She's lovely, both as a person and as a content creator. But essentially, when creators get to a certain point and their content doesn't evolve, people, their audience, move past them. And they don't often unsubscribe, but they do just stop sort of watching. And what you get are channels that have massive followings, but that don't on a day-to-day basis tend to get a lot of views. Now, it's still the early process for Gabbie, but her recent music videos, if you look at them, they have significantly fewer views, significantly less interest than originally when she first started releasing music, right? And I think a way to counteract that for her is to get into all of this drama on the internet, right? Like the Jeffree Star school of thought, because all publicity is good publicity. Now, the question here that comes in is that, well, is she just doing this as a publicity stunt, or is it more that, you know, she's having a mental health crisis and she's just publicizing it, right? There's a big difference between creating a publicity stunt and maybe publicizing something that maybe should have remained private. Well, let's talk about it. Gabbie Hanna has said multiple times, by the way, in her live streams that she has ADHD, and she's actually blamed the vast majority of her actions on her having ADHD. Now, I don't really like that, mostly because it stigmatizes people who already are quite stigmatized, right? This group of people already have an unfair labeling issue in the media. They have an unfair disadvantage when it comes to disclosing their diagnosis. And, you know, they've historically been marginalized, right? Like, not to the extent that I'm sure some people have, but there is a stigma associated with being someone who has ADHD. And I don't like the fact that she's using her diagnosis as a get out of jail free card, because essentially what she's doing is that she's weaponizing this mental illness. Now, could she be someone suffering from ADHD? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. entirely possible that she is. Wouldn't surprise me if she does have mental health concerns. With fame comes a lot of scrutiny, and negative scrutiny at that, and that kind of negative scrutiny can really mess with a person's head, so it wouldn't surprise me. That said, even if you do have this mental health concern, please understand your mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. If you are having these sorts of issues as a result of your mental health, then I don't think it is good enough to just say, well, because I have ADHD, as she has said multiple times during her Instagram and Twitter and whatever else, like rants that she's doing at a variety of different people for a variety of different perceived faults, right? The other thing that I really want to flag really quickly, because if you guys don't know, I am a science nerd, and it's just kind of something that caught my attention. Fun fact, ADHD does not present the same way in women that it does in men. It's actually a really big issue. It's a gap in the data. And she very much so exhibits the personality traits of ADHD as it would present in men, right? Which is honestly the diagnostic criteria that you would get if you just Google symptoms of ADHD. There is this unfortunate bias in the science where a lot of times the male body is considered to be the default body, which is not at all true, because the way some things happen in women are markedly different from men. And given the fact that we're 50% of the population, we shouldn't get this unfair stigma of being like a minority group. I really don't like that. Anyway, I'm getting a little off topic. What I mean to say is that women, when they have ADHD, more often than not, they tend to present as inattentive, hard to it's like hard to focus. They lack attention to detail. They have difficulty staying organized. They have a hard time like listening and remembering, and the like. Right? Where else with men, you get a lot of the other symptoms, the ones that are most commonly associated with ADHD, which is hyperactivity, frequent mood swings, even sometimes aggression. All of those things are much more common in men. So when she uses her ADHD diagnosis as a shield against all of her negative behavior, and all of the negative behavior that she's exhibiting are traits that are most commonly found in men. Like, she hasn't exhibited, as far as I can see, one trait that she has blamed her ADHD on that has been the more feminine version of the trait. It makes me feel like she Googled a diagnosis and then she's just using that as a shield. Now, once more, I'm not saying that that is true, because I don't know, because once more, I am not her doctor, right? But that's just the way that it seems to me, especially because recently, it's come to light that, she had posted in her private Discord that she is in fact just doing this for attention, that she is in fact just doing this for drama. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, right? People can say one thing and do something completely different. And in her situation, she could just be saying that she's doing this for drama because it's better than the alternative of, oh, hey, I have very little So my camera cut out for a second, and so I have lost total track of what I was saying. So I'll just move on to the next topic I want to discuss. The other thing that I've noticed with Gabbie Hanna is that she suffers from something called main character syndrome, and she seems to think that the entire world revolves around her. So one of the biggest issues for her is the perception of somebody blocking her. She really, really hates it when people block her. She'll often use that as a defense for why she is better than somebody else, because she's like, well, I never blocked you. Well, I never blocked you. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you didn't block them. They blocked you because you were being toxic, right? Like, that is a perfectly legitimate reason to block somebody, vis-a-vis Oscar Wilde. But if you do that to her, she gets very upset because she believes that she deserves the space that she takes up in people's brains. She deserves to be acknowledged. She deserves to be heard. She deserves to have all of that energy devoted to her, because she thinks of herself as the main character. She thinks of herself as being fundamentally more deserving of that kind of attention. And I don't really understand why she feels that way. Nobody is entitled to anybody's time. Nobody's entitled to anybody's attention. No one is entitled to take up space in their life. Like, I don't have to give anybody the time of day if I don't want to, and you very much so are the same, right? Like, That is not something that you are automatically entitled to, whether you are a celebrity or not. But she very, very strongly feels that way. You can see this. She's done this multiple times over the course of her career, where she considers somebody blocking her to be like the ultimate insult. Someone ignoring her to be the ultimate insult. So whether for negative or for positive, you have to acknowledge Gabbie Hanna's existence. And so a couple things to that. So first thing is, that speaks to me of someone who's deeply insecure, right? Someone who's deeply ashamed of who she is on the inside, who doesn't see herself as being worthy of love, of acceptance, of just anything. Because if you had a good sense of internal like value, if you valued yourself, if you valued your life, if you valued what you contributed to the world, you would not give two shits what other people think. But she does. She very much so cares. It is a fundamental part of who she is, that she cares about the fact that people block her. She cares about the fact that people don't want to engage with her, that they find her upsetting enough to just block out of their minds, right? And it speaks to me of a very deep-seated, insecure person. And which is why I think that Gabbie Hanna might actually be suffering from some form of mental health concern. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's necessarily ADHD. Maybe she does have more masculine presenting symptoms of ADHD. I would not know. I am not an expert. I'm not a doctor. And like I say before, and I've said, and I'll say it again, even if I was a doctor, I'm not her doctor. So my opinion means diddly squat. Regardless of all of that, she is not off the hook just because she is mentally unwell. You don't get a pass for being a shitty person because you have issues. Everybody has issues, honey. Like, you don't get to abuse people verbally on the internet like you did with Rachel Oates and Angelica Oles. You don't get to harass people like you did with Oscar Wilde and the other gentleman whose name I cannot remember. You don't get to label everybody a narcissistic abuser while essentially verbally berating people on the internet. You don't get to threaten your Discord members with like lawsuits and then come on here and say, well, you know, I've got a mental illness, so I guess you have to forgive me. No one has to forgive you shit. And quite frankly, I don't think you should be forgiven. And for all that I think that Gabbie Hanna does suffer from something, I don't think she's going to get better on the internet. I feel this way about a lot of people. When people have insecurities, when people have issues as it is, everyone has insecurities and they have issues. But when you tie up their entire life to the internet, make everything public, make it everything open for discussion and criticism, you really add fuel to a lot of their insecurities, which is why I tend to keep a lot of my life private for that exact reason, right? I don't know if I'll react well. Entirely possible that I too will turn into a screeching banshee threatening, you know, literal 12-year-olds. I joke. I know not all Gabbie Hanna fans are 12-year-olds. There's at least one that's 15. Either way, though, I know that it might not have good results for me, and so I keep it off the internet. And if it ever became an issue, I will 100% walk away from this. And that's the thing that I think Gabbie Hanna needs to understand. She needs to just walk away from the internet, right? Like Jenna Marbles did. Gabbie Hanna has enough money and success and everything that she doesn't need to be doing this. If she has saved and invested properly, if she's diversified her revenue streams, she can literally just walk away from this a millionaire, pursue something else, use what she's learned here to put herself in a better position, and just walk away from the internet. But when you inherently tie your self-worth to views and you don't have a good sense of self-worth, and then on top of that you add delusions of grandeur, the way that she seems to have in the form of main character syndrome, it can lead to some pretty awful places. And I think the places it's led to for Gabbie Hanna is just, she is essentially just pushing her entire fan base away. There are very few people on the internet right now who are willing to defend her, and quite rightfully, right? Like, I haven't even touched on the entirety of the Jessie Smile situation, as gross as that was. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know all the details, so I don't want to talk about it too much. Once more, really highly recommend watching Smokey Glow's video on that. She does a much more comprehensive deep dive into who Gabbie Hanna is historically. And, you know, she has an entire back and forth with Trisha Paytas. And I just think that at some point you need to take a break, you need to walk away, and you need to come back with a clear head if you can come back. And maybe she can. Maybe she can have this beautiful redemption arc. But the way that she's going right now, she's burning all hopes that that will ever be a possibility. She's essentially being run off the internet just as much as David Dobrik has been. And quite frankly, I don't think she deserves a redemption any more than he does. Not to say that they can't do it, not to say that it can't happen, but that isn't guaranteed. And the more you dig yourself into a hole, the harder it is to climb out of it. That's all I'm going to say on that. Anyway, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think of Gabbie Hanna. I can understand that losing relevancy hurts, but the way that she's going about keeping relevancy, the way that she's weaponizing mental health, and the way that she's essentially stigmatizing these mental health concerns for people who otherwise suffer from them, but don't have the level of protection and insulation that money provides to them the way that she has, you know. I find it really gross. I find it really gross, and I really dislike that she's doing this. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think of the Gabbie Hanna situation? Do you think that she is faking it? Do you think that she is legitimate? Do you think that, you know, no, she's really going through something right now? Or no, maybe you go the complete opposite direction and think that she actually has a point here and the people are, in fact, abusing her and taking advantage of her. Either way, you know, let me know what you guys think, and that will be for the video today. This is pretty much the completed look. I'm not applying anything on my face. I'm not really feeling it. I will apply some lip gloss, though. Well, lip balm. It's not even gloss. I'm not even putting gloss on. My lips are dry. I just felt like doing a really dramatic eye today. Well, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you hated this video, you can give me a thumbs down. That's totally okay. I respect everybody's opinions here. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell down below and hit all if you want to know when I upload any videos right away. All my social medias are linked down below. I've got Instagram, where I'm, you know, always putting my life stuff and food stuff. And there's always more stuff coming soon. I've got Twitter, where I'm a little toxic and a little petty. But hey, I'm also the easiest reachable there. And I've been told I'm at least a little entertaining on that app. And fun fact, I've got a Patreon. Now, think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing here and you would like me to continue, hey, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to. It's not necessary, but I would really appreciate it. And I make videos here like roughly 3 times a week, sometimes 2, mostly 2, but generally I try and aim for 3, and I'm mostly successful, I think, maybe. You know, if you want to support that and you want to help me get better sound equipment or whatever, you know, that's a really, really good place to do it. So consider it. Consider joining. Sorry if I've still got a ton of paint in my hair. I'm still helping my friend paint. And, God, my hair is still wet from yesterday when I showered. This mop never, ever dries. I swear to God. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. Special thank you to my patrons: Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Wild Rose, Xanthal, Jam Beans, Jay Thomas, Lauren Chris, Michael B. Petty, Debbie Elliott, Julia Q, Kate O, and a special thank you to my $25 patron, D. Higgins.